So Apex Legends has just released a brand new solos mode into the game, and I've been playing it a lot lately and I've been having a ton of success, and I wanted to share with you guys everything that I learned to help you guys improve and win some more games. So let's get right into it. So we can't talk about the new solos mode without talking about the third parties, and for those of you guys who have been playing the new game mode, you guys already know what I'm talking about. Third parties are absolutely crazy, and there's going to be a ton of situations where you guys are going to hear some gunfire in the distance. You're going to want to push, try to get some kills. And as soon as you kill those players, you notice another third party. And I wanted to share with you guys some tips that I use to help me not only get some more kills and more effectively third party other players, but also to make sure that I don't become a victim of a third party. So anytime you hear some gunfire in the distance and you know that there are players that are fighting each other, I do highly suggest that you push into that fight, because not only are the more fights that you take going to make you a better player, it also just gives you more experience overall. But the other important thing to know is that when you hear players that are fighting, you can safely assume in most situations both of those players are not going to have full health because they've been shooting at each other. So if you're the player who decides the third party, in most situations you're going to have an immediate advantage. The amount of times that I've been able to third party players, catch them off guard and get some easy kills is actually insane, and that's just because of the simple fact that anytime you third party, most of the time these players do not have full health. This also gives you an additional advantage because you're now going to be able to loot those players and get much needed supplies, because based on my experience I can tell you that healing items are pretty hard to find in supply bins, and so you can expect to get the majority of your batteries and shield cells from dead players. You never want to be in a fight where you are low on healing items, because some fights are not always going to necessarily be very close range. You might be in more of a mid-range situation, and if you do take a lot of damage and you need to pop a battery, it's going to be a really bad experience if you don't have any healing items. This is another reason why I highly recommend that you go for kills, you go for third parties, because that's where you're going to get the majority of your supplies. Now, if you find yourself in a situation where you might be a victim of a third party, there's a lot of things that you can do to protect yourself to make sure that you can survive that. Now, a mistake that a lot of players do make is that when they decide to push a player and fight, they sometimes overcommit to that fight and they think that they must eliminate that player. If you're in a situation where you're fighting another player and you're not able to kill them and you see another player that starts shooting at you, my suggestion is to just immediately leave that area. Now, if you're playing a legend like Alter and you're in a building, Alter is not only great for third parties, she's actually really great for disengaging and retreating. You could use your tactical ability to go through a wall and leave that area, because I can tell you right now, it's just not worth it to be fighting another player and then have another player shooting at you. There is nothing wrong with disengaging and retreating in a fight that you think you can't win, or if you think that things are not going to go well because you have another player or multiple players shooting at you as you're trying to focus on somebody else. This is something that I do regularly when I'm playing. I don't overcommit to every single fight. I don't tell myself that I must eliminate that player, because at the end of the day, I do want to get kills, I do want to loot up, I do want to win the game, but I also have to make sure that I am prioritizing surviving, because at the end of the day, that's what's most important in the battle royale, that's what's most important in the solo mode. You could have a player, for example, that caps the entire game and they end up winning because they third party you at the end. I'm not suggesting that you should take that approach, but it's just important to realize that you don't have to overcommit to every single fight. It is not a bad idea to sometimes disengage or retreat, and I have plenty of situations where I do that if I feel like the fight is not in my favor. Playing Alter gives you a great advantage if you are in a building. I've had a lot of situations where I start getting third partied or I'm getting fired at by multiple other players, and instead of staying there and trying to fight them, I decide to just use my tactical ability and get out of there. There's nothing wrong with that. That gives me an opportunity to reset the fight, reassess the situation, and possibly end up third partying them and wiping them all out. So make sure that anytime you are in a fight that you're not always necessarily telling yourself you must eliminate that player. There's nothing wrong with deciding to disengage. There's a lot of players that don't have a lot of strategy and they just like to ape everything, and I can tell you I have had so many situations where I decide to retreat and heal up, and those players end up fighting each other because I'm no longer there, and I'm able to actually re-enter that area and wipe both of them out in a third party because now they're both low on health. This is a very important thing to take into consideration, especially with how players are deciding to play in this game mode. A lot of players are just trying to ape everything. They're not necessarily trying to have a strategy with fighting. And so if you disengage and you have those players now fighting each other, there's a good chance that they're not going to chase you. They're just going to start firing at the next person, and that gives you the opportunity to heal up, re-enter the area, assess the situation, and end up getting some easy kills. Another thing to take into consideration is the new 50-meter warning that's been added into the game mode. If there is a player within 50 meters of you, you're going to get that warning, and if you successfully third-party some players and eliminate them and you do not see a 50-meter warning, more often than not, it's going to be safe for you to loot up and get those much-needed healing items. If you do wipe some players and you see a 50-meter warning, and you might also be hearing like footsteps close to you, you're going to have to weigh that situation and decide if you have time to loot or not, because the last thing you want is for another player who's camping nearby to just one-clip you as you're looting a death box. So it's very important that you are always paying attention to that 50-meter warning, because I've had that save me so many times. It has saved me so many times from someone who is camping nearby, just waiting to one-clip me as I loot a death box. And that is going to lead us into our next topic, where we have to talk about campers, because if you've guys been playing this game mode, you guys know there are going to be players that are just camping, waiting for their moment to just try to kill you if you're looting, or even situations in the final ring where you're trying to win the match, where you have somebody hiding and camping, waiting to get their very first kill of the game and their first win. And I don't suggest that you guys take this approach or strategy. I don't think it's good to camp, but it's very important that you are mindful of the players that choose to camp, because you're going to come across quite a bit of them. And one of the most important tools that you can use to counter campers is, once again, it is the 50-meter warning that you have in the game. If you are going through a building, looting, and you're not hearing any noises at all, and you have a 50-meter warning nearby, more likely than not, that's going to be a player that is camping. Because if someone is 50 meters away from you and they're walking or sprinting, more than likely you're going to be able to have some audio cues on that person. If you don't hear anything, I can almost guarantee you that is someone who is camping. Now, it's also about being mindful and smart about how these campers play the game. Anytime someone is camping and they are in a building, more likely than not, they're going to be trying to also hide themselves. So you can expect them to be hiding behind a piece of cover, some sort of object, hiding in a corner. So anytime you find yourself in a building and it seems a little bit too quiet, but you know someone is around, look for spots like that as you're going through the building. Be very cautious. Make sure that as you're navigating through the building, you're looking behind those objects, you're slowly approaching them, you're looking around corners, because those are going to be the biggest spots where people choose to camp. In one of my games, I ended up finding a Octane that was camping around a corner, and I have to say, it was really satisfying being able to pump some big EVA 8 shots in his face and teach him a lesson not to camp. And that's going to lead us into our next topic, where we're going to talk about the best kinds of guns, the loadout that you should be running when you're playing the solos mode. Now, right now in solos, we are playing on Kings Canyon, Broken Moon, and World's Edge, and the loadout that you want to use might change depending on the map. For example, a map like Broken Moon, there's some parts of the map that have a lot of open space where you might have to be in the open, and for situations like that, I do think having a sniper rifle or a marksman rifle is solid. I do recommend that you have a SMG paired with those kinds of weapons, because you are going to have some situations where a fight ends up in close range. Now, for me personally, I really like using assault rifles and SMGs. I do think shotguns are a solid pick, especially the Peacekeeper with disruptor rounds, if that's a weapon that you like using. But if you are going to be using shotguns, then I do recommend that your primary weapon is a assault rifle like a Hemlock, Nemesis, or Flatline. And R301 is also a great pick, and that's because these assault rifles can fire automatically. Anytime you shoot at an enemy, you can slow them, and they also are great for essentially all ranges. If you have the right optics, then you can definitely use a Hemlock at long range as well, and that's why I really like using those kinds of weapons, because they give you the best of both worlds. You can use these weapons at close range, mid range, and long range, and that's something that you're just not going to get with other weapons like SMGs. However, as a secondary, I do think SMGs right now still are a better pick than shotguns, and I would recommend the Volt and the Prowler. These weapons are just insane this season. Other weapons like the Alternator, the R9, and the Car, they're a little underwhelming this season. The R9 and Car did get some nerfs last season, and they haven't quite recovered yet. I do think the Car is still a better choice than the R9, but from personal experience, if you are going to run an SMG, I highly recommend either the Prowler or the Volt. That is it for the solos guide. I've got some really nice gameplay for the rest of this video that I hope you guys enjoy. Peace.
Gas trap deployed. Fuck it. Killed one myself.
Bro, I need to get shields, man. I am too low.
Gas trap deployed. Subject deceased. Shields are recharging. Throwing Arc Star. It all ends the same way. Beware, Playoffs is ready. I suspect there are subjects that way. Shields are recharging. There's a replicator coming in. Throwing thermite. Shields are recharging. 30 seconds. Ring near. Gas trap. I still see everything. Kill one myself. Shields are recharging. This upgrade should streamline my
This is so intense, bro. It's just so, like, I'm not gonna lie, I really like the solo mode. I just hope there's nobody over here. I have no heavy ammo, bro.
Recharging shields. Beware, I've added a variable. Taking fire.
I just don't have enough heavy ammo, you know? Because I really need heavy ammo for the Hemlock, because the Hemlock is just so great for like mid and even long range. He's gonna be around here, I think, but I don't have the ammo, you know?
Subject deceased.
Round 3. Beginning ring countdown.
Oh, thank you, man, for that. I really needed that.
Getting shot at. Administering Phoenix kit.
Delivering replicator.
I don't know where this guy's at.
Delivering frag. Delivering frag. Recharging shields.
Where is he?
Arc Star delivered. Delivering frag.
Warning. Ring closing.
Tossing thermite.
Delivering care package.
Fire. Take it deep. Medical aid. Getting shot. Here's my wounds. Recharging shields.
It is what it is, you know? I feel really confident, like, based on that fight with Octane, I do feel confident that if I get into a 1v1 with him, I'm probably gonna kill him.
Subject landed near me. Beware.
Okay.
Variable.
Yeah, that's him. That's the Octane. And he's scared. Once again, he's scared, you know? He has the high ground right now. It's not really worth it for me to kind of, like, push, you know? It's not really worth, you know? Because he's going to basically have good shots on me, you know?
Round 5. Beginning ring countdown.
It is fortuitous. I'm already inside the ring. Defense variable active.
I'm not really worried about people coming in here then, huh?
Gas trap behind. Placing gas trap. Trap set and waiting.
But there's basically 2 people left.
Closing.
I'm inside the ring. My odds are satisfactory. Get shield. Arc Star delivered. Placing an independent variable.
is it, boys.
I need shields.
Oh man, I don't got full health either.
My vision is clear. Adding another gas trap.
You can't nerf Caustic. #1 solo Caustic in the game. I love you guys. Shout out to all my fellow Caustic
You are
mates.
the Apex
We still
champion.
got it.